Hi, and welcome to another segment of Economic Strategies for Trinidad and Tobago in the 21st century. Our last segment examined the process of capitalistic economic development and showed it was a do-it-yourself process. And the process followed the path of invention, which is the creation of a new product or process, innovation, or the introduction of a product or process into use, and finally, diffusion, or the spread of the product or process beyond the first use. We then examined German, Japan, and United States forms of capitalism and showed the results of the different economic strategies. Germany and Japan went from debtor to creditor nations in 50 years, and the United States went from creditor nation to debtor nation in the same 50 years. We left you with a decision to make: consumer versus producer nation. As a consumer nation, you become poor. As a producer nation, you become rich. To become a producer nation, government, employers, entrepreneurs, and workers must determine which industries we want to develop into the future. Our government must then offer a sheltered home market to firms that are producing products for export in the industries we target. Firms with export potential must be given protection for 10 years, during which time they must be constantly improving the production process, the management skills, and the marketing skills, and working to achieve high quality and price competitiveness. After 10 years of protection, we will open the firms to limited outside competition. This process will encourage further innovations and, in some cases, inventions and price reductions. After 5 years of this limited competition, our firms will be in a position to compete because our external markets will be established, our price competitiveness will be fully tested, and our remote management skills will be finely tuned. Protection and competition must exist simultaneously. Critical to this approach is that we must be constantly monitoring the environment for changes that would impact on our plans. And we must be prepared to modify or radically change our plans based on feedback from the environment. Now we are ready to face more competition. Now that you understand the concept of targeting, let us look at the critical industries of the future and determine where we want to be competitive in the next 10 to 15 years. Let me first emphasize that to do this properly, we must call a national economic summit and invite industry, government, unions, University of the West Indies, entrepreneurs, banks, chambers of commerce, and anyone interested in our national economic success. At this meeting, we will present proposals, examine industries, determine potential markets and market access, and decide on the industries we want to target, which firms will be involved, and the policies that must be implemented to ensure success. In order for us to develop a plan for where we are to go in the future, we must look at the critical industries of the future. Critical because they are the industries that will enable us to sustain economic development and earn us foreign exchange. It is well documented that the industries of the future are research and development, environmental technologies, telecommunications, information sciences, energy, pollution, education and training, transportation systems, new materials, robots and machine tools, microelectronics, computers, and software and medical technologies. What is significant here is that all of these industries are brain power industries. Brain power because they can be located anywhere. Anywhere, that is, where you find highly educated people. And highly educated people are paid high wages. Based on this new economic reality, education must become our largest enterprise. Because once you are educated, you can enter any of the brain power industries, and regardless of which multinational corporation comes in or goes out, they cannot take your education from you. My fellow citizens, a skilled, educated population is the only sustainable competitive advantage. Our workforce must be educated from top to bottom. CORE has been researching these areas for a number of years and wish to offer an introductory target plan. Since we do not have money for research and development, we must ensure our success by focusing on the technologies that America and Japan and Germany are leaving. In the product sector, we need to decide which products offer the greatest opportunity for export success. We will then purchase the capital equipment and patents to copy the technologies we target. We will then focus on how we can improve the production process so that we could produce the product better and cheaper than anyone else. Our primary market focus will be developing countries such as Middle East, South America, Mexico, etc., at prices that are lower than currently exists in the market. Currently, I believe we have the expertise and capability to focus immediately on environmental technologies, information technologies, energy and marine technologies. We must absorb these new technologies, not just install them. To absorb them, we need a highly educated and motivated population and receptive economy. We must build an educated workforce capable of absorbing these new technologies. We must acquire advanced technology from abroad by encouraging foreign investments that would boost exports and develop needed technological skills. We must apply reverse engineering techniques to acquire technological knowledge and production skills. Finally, we must insist on quality and excellence if we want to ensure good standards. If our society cherishes high standards, our children and any individual who enters it are influenced positively. If low standards are cherished, then the whole society deteriorates. Let me describe CORE's vision for our nation. Trinidad and Tobago, a nation where our young people can dream dreams and be confident that they have the opportunity to realize them. I have been shocked by the response I receive when I ask our young people what are their goals for the future. I am shocked because they all have one goal: to leave Trinidad and Tobago and go to America. I am shocked at the reason they want to leave Trinidad. When I left Trinidad, my goal was to educate myself and return to help build a more successful society. Today, the youth do not see Trinidad and Tobago as a society they should return to. They see it as a way station where there is no hope for a prosperous future. The television, radio, and newspapers inform them that America is where it's at. From NBC, CBS, and ABC in the morning with baseball scores and football scores and basketball scores, with product commercials advertising products that have not even been introduced in the local market, thus creating desire for the product. To young and restless in the afternoon, to night programs, America dominates the mind. How can we expect to develop a nation when the major instruments for development are being used to destroy the initiatives of the population? How can our local products compete when we have been programmed to desire for foreign products and anticipate them entering the market? Our second vision, a nation where all citizens are working for the common good, the development of our children, the creation of wealth for the nation, full employment for our workforce, and financial security for the elderly who have labored to create the present and the future. To fulfill this vision, we must adopt and pursue the following goals: annual GNP growth rate of 6%, unemployment goal goal of 6% by the year 2011. Increase our manufacturing base by 10% each year, increase our agricultural production by 15% each year, and diversify at the rate of 8% each year. Improve infrastructure to enhance economic and industrialization goals by 4% annually, and reduce unemployment of youths by 6% annually. We also need to reduce underemployment by 3% annually. Now that we have defined our vision and established some goals, let us take a look at the critical industries with the understanding that knowledge is king, and therefore the most expensive commodity. As a result, we must become involved in these knowledge areas if we intend to maintain or improve our standard of living. Our immediate focus should be in the areas of environment, information technologies, energy, and marine technologies. These areas are selected for the following reasons. We have the capability to perform them effectively and efficiently. The solutions to the problems we have in these areas are filled with opportunities for research and development and future industries. And the cost of entry into these areas are not prohibitive. We can immediately begin to clean up in our environment, cleanup of contaminated areas, restoration of our historical sites and homes, and recycling. All of these areas offer opportunities for creating revenue and employment. The cleanup and recycling efforts would help us to develop new ideas and processes, and in some cases, new products and services. The renovation of our historical sites should be done with the tourism industry in focus. Tourists love to visit well-documented tourist sites. We must document the history and market it as part of our tourist efforts. We must immediately embark on the management of our marine and forest areas to ensure that present and future generations can benefit from these resources. This would involve reforestation programs, conservation of our marine and wildlife, and other conservation programs. Again, these areas present opportunities for producing revenue and employment. With respect to the information technologies, we must train our people, especially the youths, in the use of computers and telecommunication technologies. Emphasis will be on the modification of existing software and or applications to solve the problems encountered by developing economies. Today, there are billions of dollars in research labs all over the United States, Germany, and Japan. In the United States, these programs are in the public domain. This means that we can purchase them inexpensively, and this research is usually about 75% complete. We can then spend a few dollars to complete these programs and create products and services for export trade, especially to developing and lesser developed countries. Development with regard to the industries with which we are currently involved: gas, oil, and steel. In these industries, we must focus a large amount of our resources in developing downstream industries. In each of these areas, with emphasis on products and production processes that would generate products for export and at the same time improve our capability to develop and enter the brain power industries of the future. In the steel industry, we must target products such as office and home furniture, knives and forks, bicycles, and small engines and products for the transportation industry. In the oil industry, we must focus on plastics. Specifically, we should be producing plastic cabinets for television, car interiors, computers, video players, and recorders, and in addition, PCV piping. With regards to gas, we should continue to produce methanol and fertilizer, but we must we must develop a plan to have gas in all homes in major cities and towns in the next 15 years. This will be done in phases, with San Fernando and Chaguanas being the first phase, since they are close to existing gas lines feeding Pointe-a-Pierre and Point Lisas. As these areas are hooked up, they will begin to generate revenue that would then be used to begin Port of Spain phase. Once Port of Spain is complete, the east and west corridors can be started. This program will create an entire new knowledge base in gas pipeline construction, engineering, installation, maintenance, metering, and monitoring. But most important, it would create revenue and employment domestically and knowledge consultants in the gas industry. These consultants can then sell their skills in the international marketplace and earn us significant foreign exchange. In the area of education, we need to focus on the occupations where technology is generating new jobs in the information technology world. We must do it now because computers are relatively inexpensive and also because we have no choice. If we wait and our currency is further devalued, the cost of entry will increase, and we must act now. A report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics identifies the 5 fastest growing occupations requiring a college degree between the years 1992 and 2005. Computer engineers and scientists will grow by 112%. Systems analysts by 110%. Physical therapists by 88%. Special education teachers by 74%. And operations research analysts by 61%. The same report identifies the areas that technology is shrinking. Computer operators, 39%. In Trinidad and Tobago, we have a lot of these. Billing, posting, calculating machine operators, 29%. Telephone operators, 28%. Typists and word processors, 16%. And bank tellers, 4%. We must focus on the areas that offers opportunity for creating wealth. Let me touch on agriculture at this juncture, since a significant number of our persons are involved in this industry. In agricultural societies, that is, where 80% of the workforce work on the land, history shows that these are the poorest and hungriest countries. And countries where a small proportion of the population is devoted to food production, these countries are very rich and are also the best fed. In fact, most countries subsidize agriculture. Our goal in this area, then, is to be able to produce enough food to satisfy all or most of our domestic needs. To do this, we must diversify our products and look into areas such as shrimp and fish farms. The hard truth is that there is no way of overcoming agricultural or rural poverty where people have no access to manufacturing, education, or high-skilled jobs. In other words, as productivity and agriculture goes up, the economy must generate product and service-based industries and manufacturing jobs to absorb the farmers who will be displaced by the increase in productivity. For example, during the Industrial Revolution, the deployment of technology to agriculture increased productivity and displaced farm workers. But farmers were able to leave the farms and go into the industries and manufacturing facilities in the cities. This is the basic development cycle in agriculture. We must therefore create adaptable, vigorous, import-replacing cities, such as Chaguanas, vigorous because of Point Lisas, although to date it has not spun off the support technologies for the industries in Point Lisas. When it does, these industries must be tied to its producers and/or customers. Eventually, they will grow, and be able to create new industries. But also important, they will employ the people displaced from agriculture. I will return to how we solve the problems of agriculture and rural poverty in another series. Let us take a look at the skills needed to support the economic areas we have targeted for development. 1. We need persons with high capacity for abstract and conceptual thinking. Therefore, our education system must emphasize science and mathematics. 2. We need to be able to apply this knowledge to real-world problems. 3. We need effective communication skills. And 4. We need to be able to work easily and well with others. In effect, our entire education system, from the time you enter elementary school to the time you receive your higher education, must be organized to meet these needs. To achieve this, we must establish and pursue these education goals. Students in Trinidad and Tobago must be in the top 10% in the world in math and science by the year 2007. Schools must be restructured to pursue excellence. The University of the West Indies and other tertiary education institutions must work with our top high schools to improve computer skills. Students assisted in these programs must assist students in other secondary schools. We must acquire and distribute valuable educational programs to all schools. Our foreign nationals could help us in this area. We must focus on entrepreneurial development. Without the entrepreneur, the society perishes. We must encourage and support these persons. All teachers will be required to continually upgrade their skills through seminars, classes, and workshops annually. Finally, to restore our economy, the following programs, policies, and institutions must be deployed. Our budget deficit and reliance on foreign capital must be reduced. Employee stock ownership plans must be developed for remaining state-owned enterprises. We must issue economic stability bonds at attractive rates to nationals and foreign nationals. We must issue emerging technology bonds, and we must develop policies and procedures for foreign investment. Our tax system must be changed to encourage savings. No taxes on interest earned and reduction or total removal of VAT or value-added tax. We must practice import replacement for products where we can provide over 60% local input. Finally, we must create a new Ministry of Foreign Trade and Industry. The focus of this ministry will be to work with industry, unions, educators, and entrepreneurs to target industries for development in areas with potential for export, and provide the mechanisms to ensure that these target industries are protected during the development and limited competition stage. They will also ensure that the firms are challenged to become more competitive, both in terms of quality, price, and improved production processes during the 15-year allotted time. This ministry will also be responsible for the removal of barriers to entrepreneurship and the development of guidelines and procedures for the development and implementation of our industrial and managed trade policy. MIFTI will deploy trade specialists in all embassies and give them the tools and staff to develop markets for our products and services. Primary focus will be on export trade. The secondary focus will be on attracting foreign capital investments in high-tech, brain-driven, value-added industries. The ministry will be responsible for establishing technology and agriculture extension centers to help small, innovative companies become competitive. Industries will be encouraged to locate in business parks associated with these centers. This combination of research facilities, encourage university communications and exchange of ideas between professors, engineers, scientists, and business persons. The ministry will be responsible for the Small Business Program. This program will set aside procurements for only small business competition. For example, any project that is estimated to cost $250,000 or less will be set aside for small business competition only. This will encourage the development of small business. Fellow citizens, what we have discussed is wealth and job creation, sustainable jobs, sustainable growth, and the beginning of a prosperous society. The choice is yours, and it all depends on whether you choose to be a consumer, poor nation, or a producer, rich nation. A simple choice, but with totally different outcomes and significant consequences for our future. I'm Carlton Joseph, and on behalf of Citizens Organization for Rebuilding the Economy, thanks for viewing.